All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. All right, y'all, so we got a couple of rematches coming up that I'm looking forward to. Next Saturday, June 11th, Zhang Weili is going to run it back against Joanna. And July 30th, Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes are going to run it back. Now, both of these fights, they are considered classic fights now by WMMA fans. Zhang Weili and Joanna, that's considered one of the best fights in WMMA today. Juliana Pena, her upset win over Amanda Nunes, is considered one of the biggest upsets in WMMA, right? So with this type of outcome from both fights, I think it's safe to say that both fights definitely require rematches. Now, after seeing how both fights went the first time, I have to kind of ask this question because I get curious as to what fans want to see the second time around. And I asked this question about a month ago, but I didn't really go into detail. So I just kind of want to go back and do a video on this. But my question is, how do you like your rematches? You like your rematches raw or well done? And what I mean by raw or well done, well, first off, for raw, do you like your rematches action, toe-to-toe, bloody, not a lot of changes going into this fight, compared to the first fight, no pep, no seasoning, not much technique, or basically the same technique from the first fight? I mean, do you just like it served up the same way it was the first go round? Or do you like it well done? You like it prepared right, stepped up, some changes made, some improvements made, both fighters or at least one fighter learning from their mistakes? How do you like it, raw or well done? All right, so I prefer my rematches well done. I prefer mine well done. Number one, I don't like seeing fighters trying to repeat the same thing, especially if that was the cause to why the fight was close. If it was a back and forth fight, I don't think there's any need to try and repeat history for both fighters because you're going to get the same thing. You're going to get the same answer. Or this time you might not get so lucky and your opponent gets the nod, right? If it's another split decision, it might be, it might be a split draw, or if it's another split decision, your opponent might get it this time. And then you're both asking questions like, who really won? The fans are asking as well, who really won that fight? Does this person really give me that much trouble in there, right? That's one of the reasons why I don't want to see these repeat rematches. I want to see some changes, because like I said, it just comes off like they're lacking or like they're trying too hard to play up to the crowd. For example, like Zhang Weili and Joanna, the first fight I think kind of turned out the way it did because both fighters really wanted to impose their will on each other. They both got egos, right? Weili wanted to impose her will. Joanna wanted to impose her will. So every time Weili would come on strong, Joanna wouldn't want to dig deep as well. She become just a fighter. The strategy, game plans would kind of go out the door. It just kind of happened organically. Even with the fans cheering them on, I think that added to how they wanted to fight at the time. They wanted to really dig deep and say, this is how I can fight through fire and come back. You know what I mean? But if they just go in there the second time and want to pick up and say, okay, we're picking up with round 6 with that type of fight, it just comes off lacking, like they're not really trying. That's why I don't really like to see fighters try to repeat that. I like to see the energy be more natural. Like if it comes out that way, like well, this is a 3-round fight this time. If it comes off like that in round 2 and 3, just naturally, then fine. But I don't want to see them just come straight in and say, oh, we going at it. We're going to repeat the same thing just to please the crowd. Nah, I don't like seeing rematches like that. Second reason, improvements. Look, I want to see improvements. I want to see one or both fighters improve. I want to see them learning from their mistakes from the first fight and try to avoid what made the first fight close, a draw, or whatever. I want to see that fighter in there trying new things, trying to take the lead or being dominant. I think being dominant is important to show that you learn from the first fight or, just showing that you have improved, because that's saying that, okay, we know now that if we do too much of this, our opponent can expose this weakness, right? So you got to learn from the first fight. You got to learn from the first fight. It's important. Like, for example, with, again, Zhang Weili and Joanna, maybe this time around, Zhang Weili will not take as many chances at range. She won't fight so much at range, saying, okay, if I stay in the pocket here with Joanna, or if I touch her chin more with left hooks, I can definitely take away her ability to keep range from me. You know what I mean? Just something simple like that. I just want to see somebody say, okay, we watched the first fight. We got to figure out why these rounds were so close. Okay, if I take away the volume punching of Joanna, then we should be good. If we can make her wait more and fight behind us, this is how we can overcome what made the first fight razor close, right? Now, I like when fighters fight off a heart. Don't get me wrong. I like when fighters fight off a heart, but I want to see some balance where a fighter doesn't have to dig that deep all the time, but also use their mind. Work smarter and not harder, right? Like Ali in his rematch, Antonio Tarver in his rematch. Tarver may have lost his first fight with like Roy Jones or Glenn Johnson or Eric Harding, but he would learn from those mistakes. He'd come back and win in dominant fashion. He made those changes not just to be different, but to win, right? Again, going back to Joanna and Zhang Weili, like for Joanna in this rematch, I want to see her use her length more. Slip, fight off a jab, not in the pocket as much, maybe even get some takedowns to kind of throw Weili off. Or for Weili, I want to see her fight in close, use more hooks to the body, use her left hook more, grapple more. Hopefully make some improvements to keep top position and keep Joanna on her back. Just anything besides fighting close rounds where it's always volume versus heavy damage and striker. You know what I mean? Like we're always gonna be like, okay, I score this round for Joanna because of her flurries, or I score this round because Weili landed more damage and punches, right? I want to see more than that. I want to see somebody learn from those mistakes and say, okay, I can expose these weaknesses on this person or vice versa. All right. So improvements are important. That's why I like my rematch well done. Don't like to see the repeats. I want to see them. I want to see improvements because for me, the first fight usually sets a bar. It lets you know the level that both fighters are on. And then if you happen to run it back, that's your chance to say, I have to go back and improve off of what I did to separate myself from this person, right? That's the whole purpose of that rematch. To me, that's what it is. Like you have to say, okay, this is how the first fight went. It's not going that way this time because I have to separate myself to show who's better. Which leads me to the big reason why I like my rematches well done. I want a clear winner and a clear contender or a clear-cut champion. I want someone to have taken charge, improved as a fighter, so we can say this fighter is really ready for the title shot, or this fighter really is the true champion. Because when it's a close fight fans, they love to argue. They love to argue and say, oh, this person, they couldn't beat this person convincingly, so they're not the true champion. Oh, they need to run it back. They need to give this person a rematch. Give them a rematch. They'll keep on going back and forth, right? Now, that's why I love explosive fights, and I do love those back and forth fights. But when fighters run it back, I really do prefer improvements in a technical approach so we can really say, okay, this person really is legit. That's one of the reasons like I like to see the improvements made in a rematch. And I like to see more of a technical approach because I want to see a clear-cut winner. I want to avoid those arguments sometimes, right? Now, I like the explosive fights, but I want to avoid those arguments because I think it's important fighters go in there and try to separate themselves if they really want to prove that they are title shot worthy or they really are the true holder of that belt. So, yeah, man, final thoughts. Like I said, I talked about this the other day. Some of y'all, said y'all like the technical approach. Some of y'all like to see bangers. Y'all want to see a 5-round fight again with Zhang Weili and Joanna. I kind of wanted to as well, or I just wanted to see 5 rounds anyway, where it just gave them time to work. But overall, for me, I like my rematches to be different. I like them to be different and improved. Let's put it that way. Like any fight can be different. I like to see it more so technical. I like to see fighters learn from their mistakes because that's the whole purpose of the rematch, right? Is to go in there and find out who the clear-cut winner is, right? Because usually if it's a fight where 2 fighters are running it back, that's because the first fight was in question, right? So, yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. You prefer your rematches raw or well done? Let me know. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.